Good afternoon, and thanks for coming. So you heard over the last 2 days during the keynotes, which hopefully all of you attended, the outlines of our cloud strategy. And in Ray's keynote today, you saw some compelling use cases for the cloud services that we announced over the past 48 hours. What we will do in this session is to dive deeper into some aspects of our cloud strategy and specifically continue the excitement in the form of demos. There you go. So I'll provide a brief overview of our cloud strategy. That is the non-exciting part of this session. And then Mark Lohmeyer, who runs our VMware Cloud and AWS program, will come up and talk about VMware Cloud and AWS and show you some of its capabilities. And then Guido Appenzeller, who's our CTO for our cloud services, will talk about all of our cross-cloud services that work across all the public clouds and private cloud. Okay? So let's get started. About 24 months ago, some of us, Guido, myself, and a whole lot of other people at VMware went out and talked to a lot of you, a lot of your peers in the industry, and a lot of the CIOs and VPs of infrastructure, operations, development, et cetera, to understand how you all are thinking and planning for your cloud future, right? There were two clear takeaways from that exercise. One is digital transformation was forcing an assessment of your application portfolio in your organizations. There were applications that you wanted to leave alone in the data center for various different reasons, but modernize the underlying infrastructure and make it more cloud-like. There were applications where the business case did not exist to transform it or rewrite it, but nevertheless, it made sense to move it to the cloud. We call it replatforming. There were applications that needed to be changed in order to run in the cloud, and there was a business case for doing that. Or there were new applications, digital applications being built as part of the digital transformation, and that's what we call as developing for the cloud. And there were applications that you no longer wanted to manage, and you wanted to turn to SaaS services instead. So these were the strategies that were being adopted for handling different parts of the application portfolio. So the second interesting observation was every company was adopting one or more of these strategies. So there was no such thing as a singular cloud strategy, right? For every company, it's a mix of these cloud strategies that are being adopted. But the end game is very clear. The end game is to be able to take any app, existing or brand new, right, and run them on the cloud of your choice and be able to deliver it on the devices that your employees or consumers are using, right? So this is what we call any app, any cloud, any device. And VMware's vision and strategy, not just our cloud strategy, but VMware's vision and strategy is to enable you to realize this promise of any app, any cloud, any device. Okay? And it's pretty clear why you want to do that, right? The tremendous benefits in order to be able to choose the right place to run the application of your choice, right? You get the tremendous agility benefits, you get tremendous scale benefits, right? However, as infrastructure and operations team, the question is, how do we enable all of this developer choice while retaining enterprise control? That is the central dilemma, right? That increasingly, a lot of you talked to us about when we went and talked about our cloud strategy and what problems we needed to solve. Getting this balance of developer choice and enterprise control, being able to optimize your spend management, being able to ensure uniformity in how security and networking policies are enforced, being able to manage in a uniform way, deploy across clouds, and ensure governance, and so on and so forth. These are some of the problems that are falling on the laps of infrastructure and operations professionals, even while enabling the businesses and developers to have all the choice they need in order to be able to pick the right cloud target for their application. And what we have done is we have broken down the problem into a set of enterprise governance requirements, such as visibility, operations, automation, security, policy enforcement, etc. And we have built our cloud strategy around solving these problems, around helping enterprise IT enforce these enterprise requirements regardless of where your application assets live. The announcements that you saw over the last 2 days represents the culmination of our efforts, or it's not the culmination, certainly the first tranche of our efforts to solve these problems. And this slide shows the set of services that we've been launching over the last 48 hours. And let me break it into 2 parts to make it easy for you. The first is the idea of having a consistent infrastructure for your VMs or for your containers, right? Clearly, the software-defined data center plays a big role, and we want to extend the software-defined data center to as many cloud locations as possible. And this forms the basis of a lot of our customers' hybrid strategies. And of course, you heard today with PKS, we have a container infrastructure that's built on industry standard that will allow you to have consistent container infrastructure everywhere as well. So that takes care of the infrastructure portion. Once you have the infrastructure sorted out, then you want to get consistent operations. And in order to deliver this consistent operations, we have a set of on-premise products such as NSX and our cloud management portfolio that increasingly will allow you to enforce management and network policies across both your on-prem and your clouds. But increasingly, the more powerful way of doing that is to do it as a set of cloud services. And these cloud services are the ones that we just launched. And I'll talk more about that, and Guido will talk more about that. All right? So the story so far is this. How do you enable developer and line of business choice while enforcing enterprise control? The answer is consistent infrastructure for both VMs and containers, and a consistent operations. And the consistent operations increasingly as a set of cross-cloud SaaS services, and also built into the on-premise software platforms that you use from VMware. That, in a nutshell, is our cloud strategy, okay? Now, what I want to do is to dive very quickly into what we mean by consistent infrastructure and consistent operations before turning it over. The core of our consistent infrastructure strategy is the software-defined data center. Compute with vSphere, storage with the vSAN, and as well as external storage, but consistent management of storage, and of course, NSX for networking. These have, over the last 3-4 years, proven themselves in the marketplace to provide the foundation for a modern-day data center that can run all of your applications, traditional applications as well as your new applications, right? Traditional databases as well as big data, compute workloads, you name it. So our job is obviously to help you run it in the private cloud as well as possible, but also run it in as many public cloud locations or regulated cloud locations as possible so that you could have a hybrid offering which uses the same set of tools that you're used to over the last decade with vCenter and vRealize and so on and so forth. So this is not a new direction for us. We've been doing this for the last several years under the auspices of our, what we used to call our vCloud Air Network program, and now we call it vCloud Service Provider Program. We have over 4,400 service provider partners in 103 countries that are all running the SDDC stacks in their data centers to create cloud offerings that are either specialized to an industry, it might be specialized to a geography, or it could be broadly horizontal. You saw announcements if you were here last year with IBM. That's been a great partnership for us. IBM is running our full VMware Cloud Foundation stack, which is the SDDC bundle fuel, as are others, Fujitsu, CenturyLink, OVH, Rackspace, etc. Last year, of course, we announced our significant partnership with Amazon Web Services. And yesterday on main stage, Pat and Andy announced the initial availability, and we'll talk some more. This is very unique in two respects. Three. One, it's a VMware managed offering. So in other words, we stand up these SDDC stacks on demand, and we intend to stand it up around all Amazon data centers around the world. Secondly, we hook it up to your on-premise vCenter, so it's a seamless extension. And thirdly, you can access, or your developers can access, all of the rich Amazon services as though they were living on native EC2. And Mark will talk a lot more about this. So that's an example of consistent cloud infrastructure, right, available around the world. We also have been building cloud management capabilities into our vRealize management platform so that you can automate the deployment of day zero deployment of applications and the subsequent operations associated with these applications as well as infrastructure, and understand what it takes to run a private cloud as well as host your applications in the public cloud. You can do it for VMs, you can do it for full-fledged applications, you can do it for containers. And because, obviously, it is a VMware product, it works very well with the underlying VMware cloud infrastructure. The exciting new thing that we announced is the set of cloud services, and Guido will talk more about this. Everything from managing and monitoring an application, a modern-day application, in a data-driven way, to understanding the network flows of these applications, whether they are in the public cloud or in the private cloud, or piecemeal, half here and half there. Being able to enforce consistent policies using NSX, regardless of which cloud you are on, and so on and so forth. So these set of 6 services is just the start. What we have heard from you is a very clear laundry list of problems you run into when you want to manage across clouds, from identity and access management to governance and so on and so forth. And Guido will talk about how we plan to attack all of these. Oh, back one slide, please. Thank you. So the last one, even though this session is primarily about the cloud services and cloud infrastructure, let me say a sentence or two about WorkspaceOne. WorkspaceOne is available as a cloud service as well as an on-premise offering. And the reason WorkspaceOne is important in our cloud strategy is increasingly all of you are using a collection of SaaS applications, as well as Workday, Concur, et cetera, as well as legacy applications served out of Citrix or our own Horizon offering, or hosting virtual desktops, right? Now the challenge is, how do you provide end users with a uniform way to access all of their SaaS applications? WorkspaceOne consolidates our AirWatch end user unified endpoint management, as well as single sign-on and identity management across SaaS applications, as well as virtual desktops, to provide an integrated digital workspace for end users that is consumer simple but enterprise secure. And that's how Workspace plays into our SaaS strategy. So if you put it all together, what you get is a control plane for IT in a multi-cloud world. A control plane that offers consistent infrastructure and consistent operations, regardless of where you are in the globe and regardless of which cloud you want to use. This is the journey that VMware is on for the next several years. What you saw today is just the starting point, and we've got a very rich roadmap of capabilities that we'll bring to market in a very rapid fashion. So with that overview, let's get to the more exciting parts of the session, and let's call Mark Lohmeyer up to talk about VMware Cloud and AWS. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Raghu, and it's great to be here with all of you today. So as you heard from Pat and Andy yesterday, we were really excited to announce that our labor of love, VMware Cloud and AWS, is now available for purchase by customers. And if you remember when we announced the partnership in October, we said we were targeting initial availability of the service in the summer of 2017. So given it's 110 degrees outside right now, I think we can safely say we hit our target of the summer of 2017, at least in Las Vegas. But what I wanted to do for the next 20 minutes or so is go a little bit deeper here and do really three things. First is talk about the capabilities that we're actually delivering today and share with you some of the really exciting use cases that we've learned from our customers in terms of how they're looking to take advantage of this service. Second, I wanted to share a little bit of a perspective on how we're thinking about areas of future innovation for this service and capability. We think this platform is going to offer tremendous benefits and advantages to all of our customers like yourselves. And so we're already starting to think about what are the big areas of investment we should be making now to get ready for the future. And then the third part, and probably the most fun part, if it goes well, is we're going to have a demo that we'll use to really bring to life some of the really exciting capabilities of this service, and hopefully what's a fun and hopefully for me safe way for all of us. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the core high-level architecture and the capabilities and the benefits this brings. So first of all, what we're doing here is we're really bringing all of the great enterprise capabilities of the complete VMware software-defined data center that Raghu talked about before. And we're delivering that as a cloud service on a new type of instance that Amazon has created that they refer to as an elastic bare metal instance. So it's bare metal, which means we're running the ESXi hypervisor directly on the hardware. It means it gives us all the great performance and availability that you guys all get in your own on-prem environments. But it's also elastic. So it brings with it all the great elastic characteristics that people love about AWS. You can ask for new capacity through an API, and that new capacity shows up a few minutes later. You can pay for that capacity on demand, and when you're done using it, you can give it back and stop paying. Right? So it's really bringing the best of both worlds together. And then this service is delivered, operated, and sold and serviced by VMware. So we think that's a great way for you to sort of continue to have a single point of contact into VMware for all of your capabilities. And from our perspective, the fact that we're delivering it as a cloud service gives us a great opportunity to accelerate the rate at which we can deliver new capabilities to you, right? Because we can push new capabilities into this cloud service, and you can immediately begin to take advantage of it. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, it has all of the elasticity and flexible consumption models that people have come to love about AWS. So hourly on-demand consumption and 1- and 3-year reserves. Now, where it gets even more interesting is if you've also got VMware on-prem, which, of course, I'm sure most of you do. And what we enable you to do here is actually link your on-prem vCenter environment to the vCenter that's running in VMware Cloud and AWS with a new feature called hybrid linked mode. And what this enables you to do is gives you a single logical view of all of your resources. So your applications, your VMs, your hosts, your storage, gives you a single logical view of all of that across both your private cloud as well as the public cloud. And for those of you that like to work in the vCenter, in the new vCenter H5 client, you'll literally see all those resources on the left-hand pane, right? You'll just see all this stuff in your own data center, then you'll see, oh, I've got additional resources in VMware Cloud and AWS in the Oregon region. And then from there, you can do everything completely consistently. So vMotion, DRS policies, storage policies, NSX microsegmentation, everything is completely consistent across these two worlds. And then the last piece, we heard a lot of customer interest in as they're developing new applications and new services, they would love to be able to take advantage of all of the great native service capabilities of AWS, but then use those in conjunction in a very seamless way with the capabilities of VMware Cloud and AWS. And so we've done a lot of work together between the two teams, particularly in the networking space, to give a very high-performance, direct private connection between the vSphere VMs and all of the native AWS services, which we think is going to open up a whole new range of innovative things that all of you can take advantage of. So that's a little bit on the service at a high level. In terms of sort of where we're at, for the last 5 or 6 months, we've actually been in beta with this service with around 50 customers. It's been a great experience for us. We hope it's a great experience for those customers, if some of you are here in the audience, customers and partners. And but the really nice thing coming out of it was we got to hear from all of you as you started to play around with the service. What are all the compelling use cases that you could envision using this for in your environments? And so let me just give a little flavor for that here. So the first big use case we heard was, this idea of on-demand capacity in the cloud that is operationally consistent with the SDDC is an incredibly powerful sort of thing. And it enables you to very naturally extend your investment in your existing private cloud based on the VMware SDDC into the public cloud for a whole new range of use cases. So for example, I was talking yesterday with a customer of ours who's based in Europe. They've got a great data center there. They're running it very effectively with the complete VMware SDDC stack. But they'd also like to be able to serve customers in the US and in Asia. But they don't necessarily want to stand up a whole data center there. So this would give them a great way to spin up these SDDC-compatible resources in those new geographies, quickly service the needs of their customers in a very consistent way across that entire farm. Of course, DR is an obvious use case, right? You can think about VMware Cloud on AWS as a target for DR. We're looking to enable our SRM and vSphere replication capabilities to enable you to basically point your on-prem workloads to VMware Cloud and AWS and use that as a great DR solution. So there's a lot of really exciting things you can do when you sort of bring this concept of on-demand cloud capacity that's SDDC compatible to bear. So that's the kind of the first strategy we hear a lot about. So we're more of an extension, data center extension-oriented strategy. The second big strategy a lot of customers are obviously embarking on is cloud migration. This can take a bunch of forms, right? You may want to migrate a single application. Or on the other extreme, we have customers that are saying, hey, my data center lease is up at the end of 2018. I don't want to renew that lease. So how can you help me, right? And our ability to run a consistent SDDC environment on AWS is an incredibly powerful way to really simplify, accelerate, and reduce the risk of these types of cloud migration projects. No application replatforming, no application developers need to be involved, no new training of your team. It's vCenter, it works exactly the same way. Your storage policies come across, your network and security policies come across. Everything's exactly the same. So we think this can really help accelerate customers past the cloud that are looking to these sort of cloud migration projects. And then the third big cloud strategy we hear a lot of folks talking about is this idea of, hey, I want to sort of I want to create new things, new applications, new innovation for my business, test and development, application modernization. And the ability to both take advantage of all of the great capabilities of the VMware SDDC and those services and the developer consumption services we're enabling on that platform, and then also have the ability to take advantage of all of these native AWS services, 80+, in the same environment, really opens up a lot of interesting opportunities for what customers can do as they look to innovate for the future and modernize their businesses. So, across the board, a lot of really exciting things that we hear folks looking to take advantage of this hybrid cloud platform for. So today it's sort of been about, okay, how can we help you get to the cloud, right? Get to the cloud in a faster, easier, more natural way. But if you sort of think one step beyond that, as all of you start doing more and more in the cloud, we're already sort of starting to think about, okay, as that happens, what's the next set of challenges and opportunities that emerge? And so I wanted to share with you a little bit of a kind of a vision of how we're thinking about that. These are some of the questions that we commonly hear for customers that are doing more and more in the cloud. For the sake of time, I won't repeat this all here, but let me talk you through some of the capabilities we're looking at enabling to help with that. So the first thing is, look, there's a lot of interest in folks leveraging the best-of-breed infrastructure management tools and applications that today they have in their private cloud, leveraging all those things in a consistent way in the public cloud. Of course, these are all the partners that we announced yesterday. So a great set of capabilities you can see here across DevOps, migration, network and security, data protection, disaster recovery, and of course, all the applications that run in the vSphere VMs. And you'll see us continue to invest to build out this ecosystem, right? So that over time, this will encompass, thousands of partners, fundamentally giving all of you the ability to choose the best solutions for your environments. The second big area that we're looking at investing in, or we are investing in, is something we call dynamic resource optimization. And this is one of my favorites. So if you think about what VMware did, 10 years ago in the private cloud, we delivered a lot of really powerful capabilities that helped customers optimize the utilization of their hardware and help manage the cost of that hardware. DRS, vMotion, CPU overkit, memory overcommit, vSAN, all these things help drive up hardware utilization. Now, if you think about the cloud, the wonderful thing about the cloud is those infrastructure components underneath us are elastic. So we can spin them up on demand as needed. And we also understand the cost of each of those elements, the storage components, the networking components, the compute. And so we can begin to create policies that allow us to automatically provision as the amount of workloads in your infrastructure might grow, automatically reach down into the cloud, provision just in time, just the right amount and type of capacity at the lowest cost to meet the needs of your workloads. And then, of course, if your needs go down over time or change, we can then give those resources back, and you at any point in time only need to pay for exactly what your applications need. So we think this can become a very powerful way to help you manage your spend of infrastructure in the public cloud. The third big concept we're investing in is something we call unified global cloud. And again, if you think at what VMware did with the software-defined data center, we delivered a lot of capabilities that really helped improve the availability of workloads, both within a data center as well as across data centers. And now on top of AWS, we can bring those same capabilities to bear and further enhance them to run on top of this global cloud platform with 15 plus regions around the world, over 50 availability zones, and really take this idea to the next level. So we're investing in things like the idea of a single logical view of all of your resources. Go into the VMware Cloud and AWS console, spin up capacity anywhere you want. Go into vCenter, take advantage of hybrid link mode, see all your resources in vCenter, and do what you want across that environment all in a single logical view. And then, of course, as there's more and more enterprise workloads running in the public cloud, things like availability of those workloads becomes even more important. And so, again, we can begin to take advantage of the powerful capabilities of the SDDC, layered on top of, in this case, the AWS cloud. Things like vSAN stretch clusters across AZs. Gives great availability for applications, protects you in the case of a host failing or a blip in your AZ, but without requiring any changes to the application. So again, really bringing enterprise level of availability and mobility to workloads in the cloud. And then the last piece, again, we're investing in is really continuing to bring these two worlds more closely together. So AWS continuing to invest in all of their great developer tools and extending those to more natively support VMware Cloud and AWS, looking at things like CloudFormations, for example. And then on our side, us continuing to invest in our management tools to manage native AWS workloads. And Guido's going to talk a lot more about that in a sec here. All right, so with that, enough slides. We'll move on to hopefully the fun part here. And for that, I'd like to invite Alan to the stage, and we'll do a demo. All right.
Hey, Mark.
How's it going? Good. All right, so what are you going to show us?
So this week on Monday, we threw a hackathon at VMworld. Hands up, quick hands up if you attended the hackathon. We had a lot of people in there. It was a great time. And during that time, we actually hacked on our products. So the customers stood there and they hacked on the VMware products. Well, we also have these hackathons at VMware. So I was lucky enough to take part in one of these hackathons recently with William Lamb, who runs Virtually Ghetto. And we came up with something pretty special I think you're going to like, Mark.
All right, let's see it.
OK, so let's cut over to the demonstration, please. We're calling this vMatrix. It's an internal product name. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is we're going to go inside of a virtual reality headset that I have here.
You're going to go in the virtual reality world?
Well, why don't we have a little bit of fun and you can go in here?
You trust me to do that?
Let's do it. I won't make you walk off the stage.
Okay, just as long as you keep it safe.
Okay.
All right.
So if you want to put this on, and we'll put the cable behind you.
Okay.
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 And then I'm going to pass you one of the handsets.
By the way, I've heard people look really ridiculous when they do this, so hopefully no one's taking pictures.
I'm not putting any stickers on you or anything, Mark. You're fine, don't worry. Okay, so make sure you're stood in the middle of the circle, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to start the demonstration, and I'm going to talk you through what we're actually doing here. And this demonstration, I should mention, has been put together using the vSphere 6.5 REST APIs and also the open source SDKs. In fact, what we managed to do was actually give you a virtual representation of your data center inside of this virtual world that you're seeing right now, Mark.
Wow, so I'm in a virtual data center, and I can see 4 hosts here.
That's right. We have 4 hosts in our environment. If you want to use the teleport to actually move over to one of those hosts for me, please.
Okay, check out this one maybe?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay.
There you go. So if you want to kneel down for me for a second, please.
First time I've kneeled down during a presentation, but we'll try.
You can see, of course, these are Dell hosts. I mean, what else would we have in our data center?
Looks good, looks real good.
And this host itself is called esx03.mydomain.local. This is just the host name that we got from the API and put here in this virtual world. So if you want to stand back up for me, please, Mark.
Thank you.
And on top of here, we can actually see the VMs that are hosted on top of, on this host in our data center. And we can find out a little bit more information about one of those. In fact, why don't you reach forward and pick one up, please, using the trigger.
Oh,
thank you.
All right.
So we can instantly see the amount of CPU, the fact that it's a VMware Photon OS, and the amount of memory and storage available to us. We can see the network it's on, and we can see that this VM is indeed powered on, and it's a hardware version VMX13. So if you want to put that back onto the host for me,
okay.
We don't want to mess with that too much right now.
All right.
In fact, one of the things that recently happened at our organization is that 2 of these projects came to an end. So we're going to actually delete these virtual machines. So if you look over to your right-hand side, what you'll see is a trash can in our data center.
Hey, yeah, nice.
So why don't you pick up Project 15 for me?
15 again, okay. And you did get the appropriate approvals from this in the change control system, right?
I've got the change request signed by Pat right here.
So let it go.
You can't see it.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
It's gone. What happened?
You just deleted a virtual machine.
All right.
Virtually deleted a virtual machine.
I hope that wasn't important.
And also Project 23. Why don't you delete that one for us as well?
Okay, there we go. Oh, all right. Can I keep doing this? Kind of fun.
No. It's not a game, Mark.
All right.
I was waiting for you to do the interpretive dance that we had in the keynote.
Yeah, I know. I don't want
so if you want to go to the host to your left for me a second.
Teleport over there. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So on this host, we can again see the virtual machines, and you'll see one called on-prem VM01.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Pick that guy up.
Yep, please pick it up. Again, we can see the information about this virtual machine. And this virtual machine is actually quite special. In fact, we've just invested in VMware Cloud on AWS. So we're going to move this powered-on virtual machine over to VMware Cloud on AWS Live in virtual reality. So if you can turn around for me, please, and look behind you.
Whoa, hey, look at that.
We can see VMware Cloud on AWS in our data center. Now, I'm sure everybody in the audience here has done a vMotion before. You've right-clicked on a virtual machine, you've moved that virtual machine to a host or a different cluster, and you've watched it migrate over there. Now, Mark, in a virtual reality system, if you could vMotion a virtual machine, how would you do that?
I'd throw it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Good shot.
There it goes.
Mark clearly played basketball when he was at high school.
Yeah, better shot than before.
Why don't we actually see that virtual machine? Now it's been vMotioned live over to the cloud.
Now, just to be clear, basically, so that moved the application with 0 downtime from my own data center into VMware Cloud on AWS that's running in Oregon.
Absolutely.
No application changes. I'm in the cloud.
Correct.
That application is awesome. All right, now what's next?
Let's go see it. So why don't you teleport towards that cloud?
Ooh, all right, here we go.
Okay, and if you want to turn back around for me.
A little more natural.
Mark.
Wow.
You are now in the cloud.
Alan, this is like my heaven for me. It's really.
So you're now in VMware Cloud on AWS. Again, the great thing about this demo, just geeking out for a second, is the fact that I actually didn't need to make many code changes to get it to work with VMware Cloud on AWS, because it's exactly the same APIs. We're using exactly the same SDKs. We're just connecting to AWS. In fact, all of the tooling that you currently use against your on-prem data center, you can just repoint and use against VMware Cloud on AWS. So for me, this was fairly easy.
Excellent. And I see we have actually got quite a bit of capacity here, right? The amount of CPU, memory, storage. So this is reflecting the total aggregate capacity of these 5 elastic bare metal hosts in AWS, which are each individually pretty powerful. And we've actually optimally designed those with AWS to maximize our ability to consolidate workloads down on them, again, driving down the TCO for our customers. So this is great to see it.
That's right. So you can see we're in the PM org, we're in the master demo SDDC, and we're attached to this certain virtual center. Why don't you teleport again over to the second host on your left, please?
Okay.
And take a look around there, see if you notice anything.
Hey, it's my friend. He's
there we go.
Running still.
So you can see that's our machine that we vMotioned over from our on-prem data center. It's still powered on. The application is still available to our users.
All right, put it back there just to be safe.
So one of the things I've noticed about our data center, though, is that we're actually getting a little bit short on memory here. You see the big red memory sign there? Yeah. It's always a giveaway when it's red. So if you want to turn behind you again.
All right, there's always something exciting when I turn around. Let's see what's
there. There certainly is.
There we go.
And this time, teleport towards the back again, and you'll see a control center.
The control center. All right. I'm in the control center.
Okay, so slowly turn around towards me, towards your left.
Towards you. Okay. Yeah. Oh, who's that? Who's that?
This is Brian. He's here to help you.
So you built a virtual avatar on top of the new chat support capability that we have in VMware Cloud and AWS. So behind Brian is actually one of our professionals in the VMware support organization who's able to help a customer take advantage of any of the great new capabilities of VMware Cloud and AWS.
That's right. Absolutely.
Very cool. Although this guy's freaking me out a little bit, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna,
he does tend to wander a little bit.
Okay. So. All right. So let's go. Oh, now what do I have here? By the way, I'm going to spin back around because I'm going to get caught. Okay.
There we go. nice turn there. Yeah. So here you can see that in our control center, we have a number of different options available to us in our Amazon and VMware Cloud on AWS environment. So you can see the blue items are actually relevant to the VMware features. And then, as we said earlier, it's very easy to extend those Amazon features straight into our cloud here. So the orange items are actually Amazon features.
All right.
So why don't you add a Amazon AWS database straight into our infrastructure so we can make use of that?
Excellent. So I got to be careful I don't accidentally remove a host. But here we go. Click that. Hey.
There you go.
Awesome. So we just provisioned an RDS instance and we're attaching it into the workloads that are running in VMware Cloud and AWS.
That's right. All using the Amazon APIs natively through our VMware Cloud on AWS.
Awesome.
So one of the other things that we were going to do while we were here is, of course, sort that memory out. And you explained earlier a little bit about an Elastic DRS. So, why don't we actually enable Elastic DRS in this area and see what that looks like?
All right, here we go. So this is a great example, by the way. This is a great specific example of the broader thing that I was talking about before, where if you think about DRS on-prem, it can rebalance workloads optimally across a fixed pool of hardware. But if you run out of capacity, you're kind of stuck until you can provision some additional capacity in. Of course, on VMware Cloud and AWS, because the resources are all elastically available, we can actually set a policy that says, hey, when the memory utilization has exceeded a certain threshold, automatically reach down into AWS. I'm going to turn it on right now. Reach down into AWS, provision a new host, add it automatically into the cluster, and then regular DRS kicks in and optimally rebalances all of the workloads across this new, now larger cluster, which is what we're seeing happen right here as they slowly float down.
That's right.
Awesome. And so these are all basically vMotions that are occurring right now across these hosts.
That's right. So it's automatically rebalanced this entire cluster. It's moved those virtual machines across, and you can see that actually our memory is now back to green.
Oh yeah, there we go. Looking good.
Well done, Mark. So I'm going to actually bring you back to real life now and cut back to the slides.
I like this much better than the real world.
You can't stay in there. We've got some friends in front of us.
All right. Thanks, Alan. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Now, I'll say, you see it on the screen, it's sort of one thing. It's kind of cool. But when you're actually in that virtual reality world, it's a totally different level. So would anybody in the audience like to be able to give this a try themselves? A round of applause if you'd like to. All right. So what do we have here?
So we were actually lucky enough to be giving away a HTC Vive and a Dell Alienware laptop, which is absolutely superb laptop. I wish I could win this myself. So if you want to look down towards your left-hand side, one of your chairs has actually got a sticker on one of the legs. So if you can look down for me, and if you have that sticker on your chair, just pop your hand up. There's a Power CLI birthday cake sticker, the 10th anniversary. Okay, we've got somebody here. Thank you very much. If you want to meet me afterwards to the side, please, we'll organize giving you the prize that you just won. Congratulations. But the great thing about this as well is that this code was written against our APIs as an example of how to use the vSphere 6.5 APIs. So after this event, it's not just going to be available to you. we're going to actually open source this code into one of our GitHub repositories so that you can not only download it, but also contribute back to it as well and help us progress it a little bit further.
Great. Thanks, Alan. That was an awesome demo. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So with that, I hope you can see that we're really trying to bring together the best of both worlds today and doing a lot of really exciting things to innovate for the future. And with that, let me turn it over to Guido, who's going to talk to us about cloud services.
Here. Wow, that was fantastic. Great job, Mark, here. So this is unfortunately all going to take place in reality. We're out of virtual reality here. So we are all moving to the cloud. And you heard from Raghu before that there's different strategies that we're seeing in our customer base. Some of you are investing in your hybrid clouds, in your on-prem, your data centers. You're creating better and better data centers that look like clouds. Some of you are building hybrid clouds where you have the same software stack running on a cloud service provider like Amazon, and on premises, you have a consistent infrastructure between the two. Then you can just take a virtual machine and throw it up into the public cloud that you're using. But some of you are actually building applications natively on the big public clouds, meaning on native Google, native Amazon, native Azure. And for those, if you use an on-prem data center plus these public clouds, life actually gets quite difficult. And the number one problem that I'm hearing when I'm talking to customers about this approach is that you're creating silos. And let me explain what this means. So if you're deploying applications on different clouds, all of these clouds right now have different APIs, they have different formats for virtual machines, they have different operational processes, they have different ways to configure policies or network. If you want to add, say, a firewall rule, and you do it on premises in your Palo Alto firewall or Checkpoint firewall, you go to that respective user interface. If you want to do the same thing on Amazon, you go to Amazon security groups. If you want to do the same thing on Azure, go to Azure networking. All of these are different, and all of them are in compatibility. And that makes it very hard for you to get any kind of consistent visibility across, to have any kind of operational processes that stretch across. And at the end of the day, it means things are more risky than they should be. And specifically to address this use case, to help customers that are running on multiple public clouds, we built cross-cloud services, or as we call them today, VMware Cloud Services. We had a very early demo here at VMworld 2 years ago where we showed how NSX can go across clouds. Last year on main stage, we showed you a tech preview. And since yesterday, we are live. We have the initial 6 or 7 of these services in initial availability. And Raghu mentioned some of them already quickly. We have Wavefront, Network Insight, NSX Cloud, App Defense, Cost Insight, Discovery, and our end-user compute offerings. All of these are pure SaaS services. So if you actually want to try them out, you can go to cloud.vmware.com. Most of them right now still have a sign-up process, which is to make sure we don't get overwhelmed. Some of them already don't. But over time, you can just go there, you can put in your credit card, and you can start using them. You can either consume them with pay-as-you-go, or you can purchase a 1-year or 3-year commitment. It's really, really great offering. So instead of telling you more about these services, I actually want to show you a demo. So let's switch over to the demo here. So let's take the following scenario. I'm an IT guy. We're just deploying a new application into Amazon, native AWS. And I just got a call from one of my developers, and he says, there's big problems with the database. He sees these spikes. There's something wrong with it. It's probably my fault, and I should fix it. All right, so how can I find out what's happening here? Now, the good news is we instrumented this application with Wavefront. So Wavefront is collecting many, many data points per second, hundreds of data points per second, both at the application layer and at the infrastructure layer. And that'll really help us debug this. So here's a little dashboard that I built. And at the top left, you can see the number of MySQL connections per second that are coming in for that database. And it looks a little bit funny, right? We're seeing these green spikes here every couple of minutes or a couple of 10 minutes. So there's definitely something going on here. And then if I look at the right side, so they're currently loading data into the database. I'm not seeing any spikes in the write pattern, so it's pretty flat. So it's kind of, there's something weird here that shouldn't really happen. So the developer is onto something. So how do I find out what's happening here? And now, of course, I could log into that particular instance, get the SSH key, start running logging and look at things. But thanks to the power of Wavefront, I can do this in a much, much easier way. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take these spikes that I'm seeing, and I'm going to ask Wavefront, out of all these other time series you have here, show me the ones that are correlated with these spikes. Because if they're correlated, maybe that helps me determine the root cause. So here are my spikes. I'll scroll down here. I have a way how I specify my queries and the correlation. We typed this in already here, so I'm just activating it. And we're running this particular query. And what I'm seeing is that there's exactly one signal that's highly correlated. And if I look at what that is at the top, it's actually the amount of network traffic that's going in and out of that particular database. So, okay, this tells me something, right? This is not a CPU spike or something like that that's causing this. It's actually external connections coming in to the database every couple of minutes that's causing this. All right, so if this is coming over the network, let's go to the next cloud service to debug this further, and that's Network Insight. So Network Insight, you may already know, as an on-prem product, but now we can consume it as a service as well. And this service will work with both your vSphere deployment as well as your Amazon network. So here I'm going to use it for the Amazon network. So I'm going to say I'm going to want to plan my network traffic, specifically for the VPC that this application is running in. So I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. And here I can see all the traffic, how it's flowing. I'm going to segment this by VM, so by Amazon instance. So you have the different instances that I'm running on. I'm going to pick my DB1 instance. That's the database that I got the complaint about. And if I look here, there's traffic coming in from my data center to this database. So that's actually a really nice feature. You can see your traffic end to end, both from your on-premise data center up to the cloud. So I'm having traffic from my physical data center. That makes sense. I have traffic from the database load balancer. That makes sense. But wait a second. I also have traffic coming in from the internet to my database. Usually my database tier shouldn't get any traffic from the internet, right? That should be behind a firewall. So let's take a closer look at that traffic. So I'm just going to click on this link. And I can see there's a couple of outbound connections, HTTP. That's probably fine. Let's see what's coming inbound for this particular host. So inbound, I have traffic going to my SSH port, lots of flows, HTTP, MySQL, HTTPS. So that's clearly wrong, right? I mean, it looks like my developer here just left open ports for the database. There's traffic coming out from the internet. Let's take a look at what this traffic here is. So, for example, on the MySQL side, I'm seeing connections coming in from where is that from here? From Shenzhen in China. I don't have a development center there, so there's probably somebody trying to guess the passwords of my database. So this I need to fix. So probably after this, I'll go to, for example, NSX Cloud and shut down those specific ports. But if I take a second look at that, there's this gray bar at the top. Okay, there was a gray bar at the top where I can see the time series. And if I look at the time series, actually, these were sort of random accesses. There was no periodic pattern here. So that wasn't really the thing I was looking for. Let's look at the traffic that's coming from my data center, because that's the only thing that's left. If I look at that traffic, I can see there's only traffic coming in from one host. Let's take a closer look at the traffic from that host here, the flows. And if I'm looking at the traffic, okay, here's my smoking gun, right? If I look at the top, I again have this time series, and I'm seeing these periodic access patterns, where every couple of minutes there's a spike, and then in between there's nothing. That matches nicely the spikes that I saw before. So this is probably the thing accessing my database and creating these spikes. So let's take a look at what is the host that's originating this. So I'm going down here to my physical data center, everything that talks to my database. Here we go. I'm going to click on the host. And so here I can see information about the host. This is actually a virtual machine. It's running on vCenter. It's on NSX. I can see the name. In fact, I can see who runs it. It's a certain Mr. Scott Lowe. And I know he's also a developer in my organization. So with that, I'm done here, because now I can call back my original developer and tell him, hey, look, this isn't me. This is another developer accessing your database. And every couple of minutes, he does some big download here. Not quite sure what it is. Maybe he's doing a backup or something. But talk to him, and you can figure out what's causing those spikes. It's amazing what you can do with these cloud services, both on-prem, because this actually was something that's running in my vCenter on premises, right, as well as in the cloud, where I was running my database, all provided as a SaaS service. Great. So I want to introduce you to one of the customers, one of the cloud pioneers that helped us test these services and was part of the beta program for cloud services. And with that, let me welcome on stage Brandon Wagner from Cardinal Health. Brandon.
Thanks, Guido.
Awesome to have you here today.
Thank you.
So Brandon, you were part of the beta. Which cloud service?
Network Insight.
Network Insight.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit, what were you using Network Insight for?
So we have two primary use cases for Network Insight. We were looking at migrating some workloads to the cloud, and like a lot of organizations, we lacked visibility into what our application stack was talking to exactly. And then the follow-on to that was helping model security rules so that when we did migrate it, we experienced less issues at the time post-cut.
Excellent. And were you using this only for cloud workloads or only on-prem, or what was it?
Both. So we were using it for our on-premises workloads prior to migration to work with our application owners to discover that information. And then we were also using it after the migration when we got cloud workloads out there.
Excellent. And you told me you did a nifty trick there where you had the collector first installed and pointed on premises, is that right?
Yeah, so we had a couple attempts at this, right? So as betas go, right, everything works perfectly the first time. Not.
I wish.
Yeah, so we decided to stand up an on-prem instance of it. We used the collector and the interface, and then once we finally got the bugs worked out with the SaaS offering, all we basically did was flip the same collector that was using our on-premises out to the cloud.
Yeah.
And we didn't. The switch was easy.
That's really, really nice. So because what Network Insight has is a little data collector that's running inside of your firewall that gathers all the data and sends it up into the cloud. You can basically switch that over between the SaaS version and the on-prem version. Last question, can you tell us a little bit about the scale that you're operating at?
Yeah, so our initial phases were around 1,600 VMs that we're targeting, right, for analysis and trying to prioritize them and group them into, application classes and work with our development teams of scheduling and smoke testing before and afterwards. So, yeah, it's not a small endeavor.
Fantastic. Brandon, thank you so much for the beta and for being here today. Thank you. So there's one more thing about cloud services at the moment that really, really excites me. And coming back to what Raghu said earlier, right? When people start developing applications specifically for the cloud, one trend that I'm seeing is that they're starting to wrap these applications inside of containers. And the reason is actually very, very simple, right? It's that once it's in a container, I can install a container host somewhere, like a Docker host, on different types of clouds. And I can use the same packaged application and run it on any cloud that I want, whether it's on-prem, whether it's a native Amazon, native Google, native Azure. So it's a very, very elegant way to get compatibility across these platforms. And what really excites me is the announcement we did this morning with PKS, the Pivotal Container Service. As you know, it's a combination of Kubernetes, Bosch from Pivotal, plus NSX, that really provides you with an industrial strength platform to run containers on. So why does that matter for cloud services? So what we're going to do with cloud services is that we're going to integrate PKS with cloud services, so that if you use cloud services, you can basically deploy a set of containers, and immediately Cost Insight will pick up the cost that these containers incur. And NSX allows you to manage the network. And Network Insight allows you to look at the network traffic. And it'll automatically be instrumented with Wavefront. So at the end of the day, you're getting a full stack here for industrial strength containers. And if you put all those pieces together, what you get is that we now can offer you a full stack that allows you to run an application on any cloud that you want, whether it's vSphere powered or a native public cloud. You can use vSphere in your data center. You can go to our VCAN partners, like anything you want. With this combination of VMs and containers, we can give you consistent infrastructure across all of them. So you can deploy an application anywhere that you want. And independently of that, we can also give you a consistent operations layer with VMware Cloud Services. So no matter what cloud you're running in, you can do the operational side of it. You can look at the network traffic, you can look at the analytics, and more services that will come. And with that combination, we really have realized that vision of running any application on any cloud for any device. That's our vision, and we hope to be your partner as you move to the cloud. Thank you.